and tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to the Political Pulse. My name's Chris, and we're coming to you from Aotearoa FM 92.7 here in Masterton. So this is a program about politics and about policy and about what's going on, and it's a fairly political time, isn't it, as we lead up to the election on the 19th of September, which is not just an election which will result in us forming a government, but is also an opportunity for us as citizens and as voters to express our views on a couple of really important public policy issues, one of them to do with cannabis law reform and the other one to do with end-of-life choice or euthanasia. So it's an important election. And I guess if you're driving around, you can't miss the fact that it's an election because we have an election hoardings up around the town, exhorting us to vote for particular parties and particular candidates. And some people, for reasons best known to themselves, take some kind of perverse delight in knocking over hoardings. Sometimes they only knock over one or two, and sometimes they knock over all of them. And it was interesting this week to see a news item where one of the local MPs, a List MP, had gone out there and found that all of the hoardings at a particular place in the parish had been knocked over, and he took it upon himself to put them all back up, which I think is a fairly generous kind of thing to do. But it would be far, far better if we simply said, okay, these are hoardings and they're up there and they're designed simply to communicate to folk that certain people are standing in the electorate of the Wairarapa and certain parties are seeking your party vote, and it only happens once every 3 years, and let's just accept it as part of what it is we do, rather than, I don't know, venting against something and knocking them over. But in order to vote, you've got to be on the roll. So I just wanted to take a minute to talk briefly about that. So who can enrol to vote in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Well, actually, by law, we're required not to vote, but we're required to be on the electoral roll. And you must be enrolled to vote if you're over 18 and if you've lived in New Zealand for more than 1 year continuously at some point in your life, and you're a citizen of New Zealand or a permanent resident. It's really, really simple if you're not already on the roll to get on there. I checked before I came in today, and you can go online and you can do it in 5 minutes. Just need your name, need your address, need to enter a driver's license ID number or a passport ID number. So you can do that online. You can download an enrolment form. There's a free phone you can use, 0800 36 76 56. Or, if you're into texting, you can text your name and address to free text 3676. That's free text 3676, and the information will come out to you, and you'll be on the roll. And there's also advice and support available if you need assistance enrolling and to vote if you have a disability. So that's all there. So simply really easy peasy to do. You can do it in a matter of minutes, and that means you've discharged your obligation under the law to get on the roll. And of course, having done that, the next thing to do is actually to vote. So how are we tracking in terms of who's on the roll and who's not? Well, I had a quick look, and across the country as a whole, well, about 87% of the population who are estimated to be eligible to vote are on the roll. So that's pretty good. But when we look up and down the kind of age splits, we find that while older folk in the community are much more likely to be on the roll, and so in that kind of 60 to 64-year-old age group, 96.5% of those who are eligible are actually on the roll, which is pretty good. When we go back down and we look at that younger cohort, say 18 to 24-year-old New Zealanders, we find that only 64% have enrolled. And that means, according to the data that is being generated, there's about 163,000 younger New Zealanders who are yet to actually enrol. So that's a significant number. And across all of the age groups, there's nearly 500,000 fellow citizens who have yet to enrol. So if you haven't enrolled yet, why not do it? It's easy, really easy. And if you know someone in your family, your whānau, your household, who hasn't enrolled, and the chances are they might be a younger person, why not encourage them to do it? Why not sit down at the computer, go in there, find the website, get them to pull out their driver's license, some other form of ID, and get on the roll. That would be a really, really good thing to do. Because if you don't vote, then you don't get to have that opportunity to signal to parties and governments what it is that you want. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit, and I've got a guest that we're going to interview about a couple of things. We're going to talk about employment and unemployment and what's going on, because today we had the release of quarterly data which measures what's going on in our labour market. And I've got to say, the results I found quite surprising, but surprising, on the upside. And we're also going to talk about poverty and policies to alleviate poverty, how the world was looking before the COVID-19 pandemic, how it's looking now, and from the perspective of our guest, Dr. Michael Fletcher, what it is that he's looking for from political parties, from the government that will be formed after the 19th September in terms of policies to address that whole issue of poverty in the community. But before we do that, how about some music? And no surprise, again, it's New Zealand music. No surprise, this is a video clip of some live music. And the third no surprise, it's Blam Blam Blam. We had Blam 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 2 weeks ago. We've got Blam 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 this week as well. So here's Blam 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 reunited.
That you want to start singing. Is that right? Okay, here we go.
So that was Blam, Blam, Blam. There is no depression in New Zealand. And we're joined by Dr. Michael Fletcher. Are you there, Michael? We're joined by Dr. Michael Fletcher. Are you there, Michael? Michael, are you there? We're just having some difficulties connecting with Michael Fletcher. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
Hello.
Sorry, Michael.
Sure.
Kia ora, kia ora, welcome, and apologies for the slight delay, which is totally a function of me not being able to get my fingers to work on the dials that are in front of me. Suffice to say that if I was in charge of the Starship Enterprise, we wouldn't have left the Earth. But anyway, that's another story. Michael, thanks for giving of your time to join us today on Aotearoa FM.
Pleasure.
Just for the purpose of listeners, Michael, you're a senior fellow with the Institute for Governance and Policy Studies at Victoria University. What's the Institute? What does it do?
So the Institute is a research organisation focused on policy work and governance in New Zealand. It's small. We're in the fortunate position of being funded via a gift, a donation, so that there's just three of us researchers and focusing on social, economic and environmental policy-related research issues.
Okay. And Michael, your own background, you're an economist, I think, and
Yes.
You've worked for a variety of organisations, public sector, I think peak union organisation in the past, in the days of the Federation of Labour. And you currently, I think, formally kind of in a consultative sort of role in terms of a number of ongoing government programs relating to poverty alleviation reduction. Is that correct?
That's true. I mean, I came to this somewhat late. I was a chef for 5 years back in the 70s. I remember we used to serve this strange entree.